Hello and welcome again to the Impact Zone podcast. We're back again talking more TNA wrestling shenanigans. And not many matches really announced. I think it was only the one match announced. I think that that was it, which was Mustafa Ali versus Mike Santana. We knew this match was probably going to happen. But yes, this is going to happen at Sacrifice. There was a few things, I guess, clarified on this show, more so with the 10-man tag team match. We found out who the two mystery opponents or mystery partners were for Matt Hardy, Joe Hendry, and Elijah's team. I believe I at least did say that I thought Leon Slater would be a good ad here because he's been kind of feuding with the system for a while now. And, I don't know, now maybe this can be the main event, but we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. But this at least will definitely be the semi-main match, if it's not the main event. It's either definitely the main event or definitely the semi-main event. It's not going to be anywhere else on the card because this is a huge match. And Nick Nemeth. We knew Nick Nemeth was coming back at Sacrifice. We didn't know in what capacity, in what role, or whatever, etc. So I can get down with the idea that he is, quote-unquote, the mystery partner as well. That seems fine. And I still feel even more confident in my assessment, per se, with where I was at with this whole, match and the layout of the match or who's winning, whatever and whatnot. Just due to the fact of, again, even saying Leon isn't one of the top guys, sure, that's fair enough. I can get with that. That seems legitimate and I understand that. But you've got to look at four people. Maybe not Elijah, but again, he's got a major name behind himself. So he can be easily slotted into that main event picture and people will see him as a main eventer. So everyone else besides maybe Leon Slater on the babyface side is a semi-main event to main event level wrestler. They have been featured in the main events and whatnot for quite a while now, and are mainstay names of professional wrestling otherwise. So this is a good opportunity to bring Leon Slater, kind of start pulling him into that direction and making him feel like he can be up there. He certainly won't be challenging for the TNA title anytime soon, or whatever else, that sort of thing. I think some people, again, expect too much and all this too soon or whatever with some of that stuff. I think that him earning the X Division title and then going on a short reign or whatever else it is, and then maybe, going into, the world title picture after that, or maybe going into the tag team title picture or whatever it is after that seems perfectly fine as well. You need to develop this young kid because he is something special, and hey, I think they're seeing that and they're giving him this chance to be on this main stage. So yes, I still think that the team of the System and the Clones is probably going to lose, and now they've updated this match to be a 10-man steel cage match. So this is ineffectively as well. Next week, I believe, Eddie Edwards is going up against Leon Slater in a one-on-one match for the, the man advantage, effectively, in that match. So ultimately, this is not a lockdown match, but it's effectively a lockdown match because you're, having those sequential entrances and whatnot. And there's that man advantage. Obviously, I think the heel's going to win that. Again, that's usually the formula somehow. So that seems fine. And again, that's a match between Leon and Eddie can only elevate the young kid even more. So I do feel like that is a fine decision to make, even in loss. Some people might like that, but again, I think that seems fine to me because that is where you're going, type thing. You've got to build this young kid up, and sometimes in building somebody up, you've kind of got to, have them lose. You've got to get the fans behind them to be like, they were robbed and whatnot, and they deserve justice, etc. So, yeah, that sort of thing has to go on. Some matches that are next week, and I don't know whether any of these matches are going to really affect anything. Xia Brookside versus Rosemary. That's kind of interesting. I don't really know what's going on there. Though Rosemary was kind of watching Xia Brookside's match against Savannah Evans this week. Don't really think there's much there in that too much. Wesley versus Laredo Kid. Laredo Kid is not winning this, obviously. So whatever. That's a nothing match that'll probably get interrupted by the Rascals to keep setting up that match, which is, it's starting to wear a little bit thin. I'm going to be glad when it's done. Tessa Blanchard and Cora Jade versus Marsha Slamovich and Li Ling Lee, both to set up both of their matches, and Joe Hendry will defend the TNA title against unnamed wrestler. So obviously he's winning that one as well. So yes, but let's see if I can actually find this. Maybe I can't find this. No, I don't think I can find it right now, but I will continue to look as I am trying to talk, I guess. For this 10-man tag team match, we had a little bit of an encounter between Sami Callahan and Mace Warner as well. I kind of liked the things with the Spitfire Elegance stuff. I think that was kind of funny in some ways. But I honestly think that they, again, what are you going to build to at the pay-per-view with, no matches announced for the pre-show? The main card feels fully, fleshed out, pretty much. You could have something with Eric Young and with Macklin, but I do feel like they're trying to give that a slow burn to some extent. So you could have something for the Northern Armory to do. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Difficult to say. I keep thinking about, the matches that are happening at the next NXT show, and then it's kind of weird, like I said before, with having had that not been a pay-per-view, just being like a TV special effectively. I guess it'll get people to tune in on Tuesday night, or whatever, but I don't know. I don't think the outcome, because again, I don't feel like they're going to do anything because it's not even on a pay-per-view. So I don't feel like there's as many stakes, which is kind of sad because they've kind of wasted, some of the biggest matches that they could have had, in a way, so, yeah, I don't know. Kind of a little bit sucky there. With that, in that regard, so it does make it difficult at times for things to do these things. And it's really difficult, tonight's main event and some of the other matches that were on tonight. I thought that the Colognes match, that was a bit silly. As far as a match, you're not gonna if you're going to bring them in and make them lose, and like you made them lose to Joe Hendry and Elijah or whatever it was, but if you're going to make them lose and lose and lose and lose, it's like, well, we know what role they came into the company for, sort of thing. So if you can't even let them win, it's sort of like, or even in an underhanded manner, it's sort of like you're really hurting them at a certain point, like, because if they're not strong, then they can't, put over anyone because they're not strong. So it's one of those things of, or difficulties of having these sorts of things go on. But yeah, it's just a difficulty that, that we have to continue with. But it is one of those things. You can't figure everything. So I don't know. I don't know. It is kind of good in some ways because TNA is taped, I think, as well, because that makes it easier for people to kind of go back and forth. And we saw, I think it was last week, that Cora kind of tweaked her knee on NXT. So hopefully she's still able to, and so far it hasn't been called off, be able to compete. Beyond the storylines and the matches and whatnot and the booking sometimes, we all hope for people not to get injured and not, especially not seriously injured, because, we don't want people to get hurt, and we just don't want to have our favorite people, or even not favorite people sometimes, out of action, because it's like, well, I can't be entertained by this person if they're no longer on the show because they're injured, and it feels kind of weird right now because, you're kind of in that position of, well, when is this person going to come back? I saw Hammerstone's recovering. I saw a couple of other people that are slowly recovering. Chris Bay's sort of recovering-ish. I don't know if he's ever going to step back in the ring, but, again, it's crazy. So I do hope for the best for him. And we'll see one day if he can return, but it is what it is, if he never returns, he never returns, and that is sad. But again, it's like, well, maybe that's best for his health, that he doesn't return to wrestling. Don't want to see a guy paralyzed. I know Josh Alexander and Kurt Angle and a few other people, and Sabu and a few other people. I'm not going to go through all of them because I'm already going to forget some, but those are probably the most notable examples of people that have had surgery, like Edge, a few other people. Again, I'm not going to go through all of them, but especially neck surgery and whatnot. So it's or that sort of style of surgery that, Bay would have to have. He's probably already had some, but, any further injuries would be, even worse for the guy. So clearly, we are not, just here to be wrestling fans or whatever, or promo fans or whatever it is, and that's the thing, there is that some level of pride and tribalism in when you watch a professional wrestling show every single week, every single month for a long period of time. You have that strong connection with a lot of the wrestlers, even the ones you don't like. It's well, once they're gone, you start noticing the things that they used to do or that they used to be involved in, and you start going, man, I kind of want to see this person again because they were kicking some ass. I want to see more of that person. I miss that person being here and kicking butt and trying to make a name for themselves. They were doing cool stuff in a way, And I want to see that for everyone. I don't want to just see that for whoever. And again, I like the Hardys. I like the guys that are quote unquote the legacy acts. But again, you've got to have these young guns there to take over. You can't just rely on the Hardys to be there and to do what they do, and you can't rely on anyone to do anything in some ways. But again, like at a certain point, you do rely on people. But in the future, in the next year or so, you're not going to be able to say, well, let's keep rolling with the Hardys. So and probably no one can be as popular as what they are, but thing is, you've got to move on. You've got to try to make another team that does fill that role in some ways. Same with the Motor City Machine Guns. People thought, well, no one's ever going to replace them in a sense, but they had to be replaced because, again, they're not going to be around forever. They're going to retire at some point. I don't know when, but they are going to retire at some point. And, I'm sure that TNA Hall of Fame is coming for them as well. But, there's a lot of guys that do deserve that as well. So it's like, you start wondering when it's time for some of these people to, hold up the boots sort of thing, type thing. And that's where I'm at with the Moose match. And the one person perhaps that could take the pin on the babyface side would be maybe Matt Hardy, because then you've got some sort of reason for the Cologne, especially if it is the Colognes that take the pin, then you're kind of pushing them back to being take these guys seriously. They're going to be in a tag team match against the Hardys next month. They're going to be in a major rivalry for the next few weeks. They're going to have one-on-one matches, or they're going to do something else to build to that show, or to gain that tag team title victory, or whatever else it is. I don't think a battle royal of tag teams really works. Though, again, it has been done before, so maybe. But again, if you're going to build a match between the Hardys and the Colognes, they need to have something over the Hardys so that there is that drama, so that there is that, what if the Colognes win type mentality to people. Because if people don't think that they can win, people don't buy tickets or don't buy pay-per-views to see it. And again, yes, no, not everyone buys to see some of the undercard. People buy to see some of the more major matches. This is a very major match. So I guess, again, it probably is the main event, because especially with that steel cage or whatever. But again, you can't get away from thinking, as well, the other team side, as far as, standings in the company, you've got two guys that are on that team in Myers and JDC, who are effectively jobbers, right? Or even maybe jobbers to the stars or whatever, because they win sometimes, very rarely. Then you've got the Colognes that haven't won a match yet. And then you've got Eddie Edwards, who really is a jobber to the stars. So, again, you're asking somebody to believe, that these effectively all jobbers to the stars effectively are going to win against the stars team. I guess that there's nothing really on the line per se in any sense. There's no titles on the line. It's just pride or whatever else it is. So I guess the heels could win in that regard too. And again, that could be the way that the Colognes get back to that, title picture, or get get that title shot, but I don't know whether it's the right time to change the titles over. I'm not sure. It's tough to say. And are the clones the right guys to take them? Maybe. I mean, like, if you build, like, actually give them some wins, then, like, give them some good babyface, like, there's some good babyface teams there for them to fight, so, like, why not? Maybe, I don't know. But again, like, the Hardys, like, I don't want to say, like, too much negative about them, but it never really seems like they want to do the JOB, to me. Like, it doesn't really seem like they want to lose a match. And that's fair enough in some ways as well, because you got to, like, upstand your, type thing, your iconography and whatnot, so you don't want to lose. But again, it's like, well, at a certain point you need to lose guys, like, even by hook or by crook or by whatever it means. It's like, yeah, these guys need to win, because you, like, even if you guys are here for 6 months, it doesn't really matter. Like, these guys need to have those titles so that, other people can be challenging them. Your run's, sort of coming to an end, and maybe they'll win it in another match, like maybe a triple threat match, maybe some sort of ladder match or whatever else it is, or a fatal four-way style tag team match. But, like, we'll wait and see. I don't know. But again, like, without that perspective of, like, let's change things up and let's, give you guys something else to do or whatever else it is, I don't think they can feud with the system again. But then it's like, well, what else are you going to do with them? Like, I don't know. Maybe Hammerstone can come back soon, like, as I said. I don't know how long Jake Something's going to be out. And I don't know whether they want to, like, pull that tag team back or whatever else it is. But they might, so wait and see. But yeah, like they announced Santana and what's name there a while back, and well, it's one of those things that they like that. I again didn't want to and like come in here and announce anything, because it's like, well, like, what's the point? Like, they might announce more things. They might have announced stuff for the pre-show. They might announce stuff for the pre-show literally 5 minutes after I stop recording this. They tend to do that. It's always the way. So it's like, well, what can I do? So hopefully we will see some more things going on here in the company soon. I kind of feel like they are perhaps building to a Elijah Joe Hendry rivalry of some sort. I kind of feel like they should have that at Slammiversary, but I don't know. I keep thinking about the whole John Cena heel turn actually kind of recently. I kind of wanted to talk about that a whole lot more, but it is crazy, guys. It's like, I've heard a lot of people saying it's probably the best heel turn ever. Like, dude, like, I don't know whether I can't disagree. It probably is one of the top heel turns ever. Like, I only saw clips of it, but yeah, like, I've seen it, dude, and I've, like, that's a great heel turn. It's definitely way up there as one of the best. That's like probably because it's just been so long since he's been a heel, and people kind of wanted it for so long, and it kind of makes sense why. And I actually kind of felt like it almost was going to happen in some ways. I when I saw that promo John did a few months back, when he was saying, I deserve the WrestleMania main event. And that sounded like heel work. That sounded like, entitlement, like, again, but it didn't really, like, it could have been, like, somewhat heel-ish, and that's fine. Like, you could do that, I think, and that seems fine to me, but it did seem like, is this a seed, like, is there something more coming here? But I didn't know, but I thought, wow, that's interesting. That's an interesting seed to plant, like if you're going to do something later. And they did, and it was like, holy crap, you know. So it's one of those things. But again, that's a crazy heel turn. And I think Joe Hendry and his match with John Cena, potentially, now has way more potential to happen in some ways, just in my opinion, because I think a heel John Cena versus a babyface Joe Hendry would make way more sense. It wouldn't make any sense, in my opinion, for people to see babyface versus babyface, Cena versus Hendry, in my opinion. Yes, you could do the whole Hulk Hogan Ultimate Warrior thing or Bret Shawn thing at WrestleMania 12, where they were both baby faces, but it's not really one of those things that you can easily book, I think. Like, yes, sometimes you get that, 51, 59% of the audience, like, type thing, or whatever it is, 52 to 58% of the audience type thing, where, like, it seems like it's 50-50, or it's, like, almost 50-50, it's almost down the middle of people who want one person versus the other person, like, both baby faces going at it. But it's like, I think it's just better when you have nearly 99% of the audience going one way and not going this way or that way, or this way or that way. And John Cena has always been polarizing in some ways. So, and I think, like, if he was ever in TNA, he would be a heel. Like, that's the way I always thought that if he ever came to TNA, he would be a heel, because they would book him like a heel. They would book him like the WWE machine, like, product that he is, basically. And book him like a heel. So I think, like, if they ever have a match in TNA, which is so unlikely, but again, if it happens, it makes sense now. And even if they have a match in WWE, it makes some sense now, because they're on opposite sides of the spectrum. They're not fighting for, the same, crowd as far as that goes. Maybe, like, some of the kids might not want to boo Cena, I don't know, but, like, if he's deplorable, it's like, well, and maybe actually it's kind of crazy, like, maybe, like, the adults will actually cheer him instead, like, and maybe the kids will be Cena sucks, and the adults will be saying, let's go Cena. It'll be the opposite, like, of what it used to be. So that could be interesting. But yeah, I do think it could be interesting to see it, because now there is, like, logic behind the babyface heel dynamic. Like, there wouldn't be before. Yes, you could have babyface versus babyface, but it's like John Cena is the clear probable favorite in some ways, because it's the especially if it's in WWE, he's the definite favorite in some ways, because they're more used to, more knowing of who John Cena is. They don't know Joe Hendry as well. If it was in TNA, then I think it would be the opposite. But yeah, I don't know. Now it's completely changed, and I think it would be, I don't know, it would be a very good match to sort of go out on in some ways, but I don't know whether that's what John wants to do. I think he probably wants 2 or 3 or maybe a handful of, like, big money matches. I think that's where he wants to be. He wants to just be having these, like, one-off big time matches. Rumble, Elimination Chamber, and Mania. Like, he didn't turn up for like a lot of the year. He turned up for a few big money matches. And that's fine, because he can't go like he used to go. And if he wants to save himself for, a handful of big money matches, fair enough. So hopefully, I wouldn't mind seeing it now. I think that if they were to do it in some ways, then heel Cena might win the title, but like if Joe wasn't the champion, then I could see it going the way of Joe Hendry. But I could still see it going in the way of Joe Hendry just to sort of, I don't know, give the audience like an even bigger babyface to kind of believe in here in TNA, or a bigger thing to kind of keep pushing through those, next chapter. And that's the thing, like that's John Cena's role now, and has been for quite a while, to build the young guys. Like he's like typically lost to just about everyone and anyone that he's wrestled in the last like whatever number of Manias it's been, and those are basically the only matches that he's actually had, like in the last few years. So again, it's like, yeah, sure, you can get some TV wins or whatever it is, but you won't be winning that big belt, in a sense. But then again, even if you are, you're probably going to lose it, in the right way. So, and it kind of would be interesting. I think it'd be more interesting in a way if he won the TNA title. I don't know. That's just me. But it would kind of complete a story in some ways, or it could set up a completion of a story in some ways. It wouldn't really complete a story in WWE. Like, it could, but like, I don't know. Anyway, guys, I think that's pretty much it for this one. Hope you guys have enjoyed this one, and hope you guys will join me for when we finally do watch Sacrifice, and review it. We will have to have a last minute preview next week, I think. So I think there's one more in the upcoming after next week. But if there's nothing really announced, it'll probably only be the pre-show matches, if anything. So I guess we'll just go over the card and whatnot, more or less like bullet points, just a few comments on each match, rather than going a full more deep dive like we have with these other episodes, because we've already talked about it, so I'm pretty sure you guys are sick of hearing about it. So, but anyway, guys, hope you guys will enjoy, and hope you will join me again in another one.